So I am now ready to rebuild the telescoping unit. It has been a few months, and I had to completely strip down, repaint, decals on this, but it's now ready. So I have two sets of everything. This might be a bit bright, so let me just turn this down a bit. Okay, maybe that's better. So yeah, I have two sets of everything. So I'm just going to go through what I've got. This is the right hand side, which was by far the worst. The races on this side were absolutely destroyed. It's just like a rough, rusty mess. So I had to source 4 of these, and you can't find these in anywhere. Not in that size. So I had to get some larger ones. I can't remember exactly. These are some lefty races that actually come larger, and I had to cut them down to size. Now for the inners, these were also very rusty, and Improved Part sent me a set of all sorts of different sizes of races. And so these races have the square hole in them, and they were in the right thickness. They were just a bit longer, so I had to trim them down to size. They weren't totally in the right thickness, but they also include these sheets of copper that you can use as shims. So it's going to be the first time I'm trying this out. So these are Improved Part races with shims, and as far as I know, they're the only people who are making races other than the new old stock stuff that we still can get from Cannondale. Along with that, we've got some needles these are Improved Part needles in original cages. And then we've got the original boot and the original ring and shaft. And then on this side, these, although they look a bit stained, it's actually mostly from when I was degreasing it. There's a tiny bit of rust here on the end, but this shouldn't affect performance because it's going to be right up at the extreme where it never actually hits anything. So they look a bit discolored, but they are totally smooth. And the races, I have a set of original HTR2Gs, which are the right size. And so I'm just going to go with these on this side. Now again, we've got, I think these are all Improved Part needles, possibly. I also have some original needles in play, so we'll have to see which is which. They're basically indistinguishable, so it's kind of hard to tell. So I am going to basically build one and then build the other, and then it will be the telescoping unit side done. Normally I would write down the thickness of each of the races to make sure that we're using the right ones everywhere. But it turns out that on these Moto FRs, all of the races were the same thickness. At least all of the inners are the same thickness and all of the outers are the same thickness. So there's actually no issue with getting them mixed up or anything like that. Firstly, going to take the outers and install them, and then deal with the inners. Yep. So what I don't know exactly right now is how it's going to be with the shims, whether or not they're just going to stay in place with a light coating of grease or what. We will find out. I have the improved part race tool. And I'm going to have a bit of slick honey from Buzzies. And I'm going to put on the races. Okay, so set up now. Now these ones don't seem to have, they didn't have any sort of ring around here, like the headshok, just the boot, basically causing having the lower seal on there. So that's the first thing to go on. Might have to open a new thing of grease in a minute. And thankfully these boots are in good condition. A tiny tear on this one, but it's well within the zip tie area. Okay, and the next thing to go on is the locking ring. And now I just need to get the lower race retainer installed. Depending on how it goes with the shims, this might need to come on and off a few times. But other than that, it should be pretty much the normal, just like it is for a headshok. So for each one of these, I cut the shims down to be long enough to not protrude into the area where the locking ring goes. What I need to check, yeah, so each one of these maybe needs a bit of a trim, because I might have actually just cut them a bit too wide. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these down. And I was just using an X-Acto knife. And this stuff you can just score it and then bend it, and it should come right off. Yep, that's fine. So I'm going to try just attaching it to the race itself with just some of the grease, just as a very thin film. Now, doesn't really attach. Okay, so I'm just going to get it set up in the race retainer, and we'll see how it goes from there. Okay, that's fairly hassle-free. So just going to check. Yeah, that one's all right. This one might need a trim. That one's all right. Okay, so I'm sure I could make some sort of stamp press thing to cut these to size. As they come like in a roll. Okay. I'm very glad in this case that they are all the same size, otherwise this would just be a bit trickier. Okay, one more. Okay, so we can start to add some tension in here so that we can get the races lined up properly. Okie dokie. Now the upper race retainer slash bearing retainer, I guess. Okay. If I was muffled before, it's because my shirt pocket was covering the microphone. So apologies about that. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9. Two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There we go. Just gonna make sure the bearings have grease pushed all the way through them. Okay, so we want the hole at the front. Oh, there's 2 holes. Okay. Yeah, okay, so that is still too loose. I did have a bit of a difference in the measurements in terms of what I was able to source. That is too loose, so I'm going to have to put in another set of shims. So I'm going to cut another set of shims and we will redo that. So I'm going to put this to one side and I'll be right back as soon as I've cut another set of shims. At this point in time, the battery on my microphone dies, so got a completely silent video from now on till I realize. Here I am putting on the upper race holder slash bearing holder. I've already added the extra shims in, And then I am just getting all of that wrapped up. And now I have the bearing holder to remove so that I can finish sliding down the telescoping unit. And I'm pretty sure it's going to work out this time. Well, I know because I already did it. Sometimes you'll feel some friction before all of the bearings are engaged, where it's still sort of bumping to the end of some of the bearings. Once you get it further down, it feels a lot better. Now I'm screwing on the retaining ring. It's important to get this screwed on before you check things, otherwise it'll just go flying. But yeah, up and down, buttery smooth, no play. So that is probably what I was saying. And now I have to just repeat the same process for the other side. Which will be done in the click of my fingers. Like that. So apologies if the audio went missing at the end of the previous section. Microphone went off. Anyways, so I've got this one now greased top. Although this does look a bit, there we go. That's better. And this one here, I've just rebuilt it. I've finished putting it together, but I just need to tighten up the retainer nut on this side. Okay. And we need to make sure that we put plenty of grease on the races. So, last thing to do is to actually put these boots onto here. I'm going to leave that for later on. So that is the telescoping unit complete. Now obviously these would be attached together and there's some brackets that we need to put on. So that would be the next thing, is to reattach all the bracketry. And then after that we need to put in the spring and the damper, which one side takes the damper, one side takes the spring. So that is what is next. I will clear away everything that I've got here and come back with the clamps first. So I'm just getting the parts organized for the clamping setup, and one very important part obviously, which is the main shaft that goes between the two clamps, this part here. It had the crown race on it, and I was actually struggling to get the crown race off, and it turns out there's a little lip here. Let's see if I can get this to zoom in a bit. So there's this little lip, so if you're not careful, yeah, you can be fighting against that lip trying to get the crown race off. So it was actually quite rusted on, so there's a few marks in there, but it should be fine with the new crown race on top. But yeah, just be aware that that lip is there, and you can't take the crown race off that way, you have to take it off that way. So I'm going to hammer the crown race onto here, and then attach it to the clamp and so on, and I'll come back after that is ready. So I've got the race on here, and I have the steerer on the lower clamp. I've got the boots now fitted over the retaining nuts, and we have these are sort of dust protector seal things. They fit over here quite tightly, and they have these air filters inside, which they're very kind of basic pieces of foam. I just cut some out of some air filter material because that's all it is, and then you just need to finagle that over the headshok shaft. Okay. Okay, so that is now in place, and I can slip it down to go over the hole. These are going to be zip tied, but I'm leaving that till the end, so I'm just making sure that the filter material is in there. I'll need to manipulate it a bit to get it into this space. Might be easier just to put it on first, and then put this rubber piece over, and then fit it underneath. It's a loose fit on the bottom because it needs to have some space to breathe, so I guess that is a bit easier than trying to slide it all on together. So I've used the same sort of material for the filters on my lefty DLRs, and it works fine. So there we go, that's that fitted. The previous filter had completely disintegrated. Okay, so that is the flexible materials set up. Now the lower shaft clamps goes on. Let me just see if that needs loosening up a bit. 5mm. So first clamp goes on. Now we fit the foam bumpers, and these bumpers we'll need to fit them or position them so that they don't hit the frame. Because that is what they're for. So once this is fitted on the bike, these get moved around to the correct position. So the bike would go into here, the head tube would go into here, then this would be the top clamp, which would be fitted on once it is on the frame. The frame is elsewhere, ready to be installed, set up with everything. It's rather tight. So that's it set up for now. Next thing to do is to get the frame and put the headset in, and then this would finish getting installed. I do need to put in the damper and coils, so the next thing I'm going to do is rebuild the damper and clean up and tidy up the coil and the elastomer. Right then, for you it's been a few seconds, for me it's been a few weeks. Just lots of stuff happening, things getting in the way, life and everything. Anyway, so I'm just going to do the teardown on this. Is the damper for the Moto FR, and we've got a bleed port on the side. Fairly standard. I mean, some of the outer sections are a bit different in its build, but it should be pretty much the same inside. It is a 5 position, so we will see what it looks like when we tear it apart. Just for reference right now, I mean, it still has fluid in it, but it's all over the place. It's gurgly and lumpy. But yes, having a... Oh, and also there is some damage at the top of the shaft here. So, yeah, that's not great, but it is what it is. There's only so much that we can do. If I can find a replacement shaft, these are the slightly wider ones, then maybe I can swap it out. I have to measure all the dimensions and check and see if everything else is the same. Other than that, I'm just going to get going with it, and if I see anything interesting I'll let you know, but I'm just going to run through I'll probably run this fast forwarded. Delicious. Let's get some ASMR of that. Okay, so left hand side is ready to go in. This just sits or seats on the bottom of the shaft. There is nothing in there. Same on the other side. I'm going to leave that off for now so I can then expand and collapse both ends. And then for the other side, we have a spring, we have a spring perch. The original elastomer is very much disintegrated. But I have another one. Okay. that is how it was. There's really not much to it. It's just basically pressed up against that. So first goes the spring with the spring perch. Then goes this part, which just needs to seat in there. And this is where I might need to bring it down to the ground. There we go. It's nice and tight. Now I can just screw on the top cap. Okay, so let's get both ends done up. So maybe I'll do up the spring first. Spring side. I haven't got the brackets tightened up yet, so okay. That's the spring side done up. Alright, so that is the whole unit now done up. I'm just going to tension these up a bit so I can just test. These will need to come off to put it on the bike. But for now I'm just tightening these up so we can check, because the spring and the damper are in separate sections. So if you don't do that, you end up with one side moving up and down, the other one not really. see if I can get this GoPro out of here. Yep, there we go. Alright, so here we have it. Feels like it's compressing and damping as it should. Next steps are to put the hardware back on, mount it on a frame. I've still got to get the top caps. I'm going to order those from Improved Part. I didn't order them before because, hey, if the thing just didn't work, there was no point in getting those caps. This one is the, they're sort of spring standard, elastomer standard top cap, and this one's the 5-position one. So both of those are available on the Improved Part, so I'll be reaching out to them to get those. But yeah, for now, that is the Moto FR rebuilt. And yeah, I'll follow up with this in another video, otherwise it's just going to get a bit too long. Thanks for watching.